Hi, early August, we were approached by Mr. Ron Steed, who's with us tonight, with Endeavor Communities representing Ilpo Redwood MHP LLC. He stated that they were investing in a new sewer system and were requesting to connect to the city's sewer system. By ordinance, a connection to the city sewer system requires annexation. Redwood also proposes to have two other properties that they own annexed as well, which would be Redwood Storage, which is just due east of them, and just north of that facility is Redwood North, Redwood Storage North, which wraps around CNC recycling. Zoning board, we had a zoning board hearing last Tuesday, November 12th, regarding the annexation agreement and zoning the parcels. Manufactured home park is a special use in an A1, an R3, and an R4. And the zoning board voted that upon annexation, the appropriate zoning would be A1. And both self-storage facilities are a special use in a B3 or an M1 district. The zoning board there again determined most appropriate zoning would be an M1 for them. By statute, if the city annexes any property, the boundary must extend to the far side of the road for any adjacent highway and include all of every highway within the area to be annexed. In this annexation would mean the portion of East 1830 North Road from Route 23 to CNC. The annexation agreement outlines all streets, lighting, sanitary lines within the manufactured home park will remain private. The connection fee would be waived as no connection fee has been established for the Route 23 corridor. And if you recall, the cost of that sewer line is being covered from the landfill. Annexation requires the developer and 51% of the electors within the territory to submit a petition for annexation, which determining all of those electors in manufactured home park is a work in progress right now. And the manufactured home park comes in to the city as is, and it must follow all the applicable laws for a manufactured home park. As of now, the manufactured home park, upon annexation, plans to continue to submeter residents for their water and sewer, and I'll let Mr. Steed go into discuss what the plans are for his facility. Ron?
Good evening. Ron Steed. I am with Endeavor Communities. We bought the community back the end of last year, so now we are completely operating the community. And like Jim had said, that we have to redo the sewer system within the community. And of course, to get rid of that effluent, we need the connection to the city to happen. Our current plans are to install the sewer system, get that connected. Then we are moving into installing all new water lines in the community and new storm drains in the community. And then we're going to put new roads in. We're currently also installing new lights in the community. I just went through there tonight and marked a bunch of spots that need new lights as well. So our plans are to grow this community. Its current condition, I'll be honest with you, is rated as a 2 on a scale of 1 to 5. And within 3 to 5 years, we'd like to make that a 4 to 4.5 community. So we've got a lot of work to do, and part of that work is getting annexed into the city.
And you mentioned to us at the zoning hearing that a 5 is a gated community.
Yeah, 5 is a gated community. We're not going to gate the community. Actually, we don't have room to gate the community, but we don't want to. Yeah, we don't want to gate the community, but we do want to make a very nice community. We want to be an asset to the city of Pontiac and to our residents, who are the most important part of this process. I might add that we do not rent homes in the community. They are all 100%. 98% right now, but within 6 months they should be all 100% resident owned. We're not a rental company. That's not our business model. We only sell the homes that are in the community.
The only other things I would add would be, I did do some looking at the mobile home tax, and the average for out there would be $85 per mobile home. That distributed by that same proportion, so the county takes that tax, and if they are annexed to the city, they just use a proportion of who gets what percentage and would distribute it that way. The total taxes from the manufactured homes themselves would bring to the city roughly $2,300. So it's not much. That's the way they're taxed. The taxing is based off of the age of the home as well as the square footage. There's a formula based on the age, how much versus the square footage. But that's not counting the assessed value of the mobile home park that Ilpo Redwood would pay. And I did the numbers on that too. And if they had been in the city this year, their city property tax would have been $13,500 for the manufactured home community, $1,900 and $1,600 respectively for each of the storage facilities. And $1,100, $160, and $142 for the library would have been the numbers for those.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Steed or about it?
Okay.
Well, it
Jim,
is
you
a
said-
public hearing. We'll be voting on it a little later.
You had said CNC, which way is that supposed to go? Did you mean Pontiac
It'll be
Recycling?
between Old 66 and Route 23, that basic frontage,
Yeah.
except the corner. You know where the storage sheds start?
Where the Pontiac Recycling is?
Yeah.
Right at their.
Past Pontiac Recycling, and there used to be another business on the corner across from that. There was
The
a,
old gas station at one
Yeah, the
time?
old gas
So,
station.
6, yeah.
And
So-
so, on both of that.
the storage sheds, there's one adjacent on the west to the recycling. Then across the road, there's one adjacent on the west to that old gas station property where the trucks park on the corner. I think the recycling folks may own that too. I don't know.
That corner, yeah, it's
Does it do anything to the farm to the north,
No,
Grove?
it does not do anything to Alzina Porter's Farm.
Okay.
Okay, that road in front of there where Doug Grove lives will now be a city street.
Right.
That's the difference.
Okay.
It does not bring them into the city. If they will ever want to develop that and need access to the sewer, they'll have to come into the city too. And the purpose of this agreement is to give them assurances that if they annex, they'll have access to the sewer and that we're not going to charge them extra connection fees and stuff. And then from our perspective, you know, they're agreeing to annex and we know that we can rely on their annexation and then let them hook up to the sewer. So it's a win-win situation. You know, they are going to improve housing in the city of Pontiac, which seems to be a hot button item right now.
Right.
How will that hookup go with that being, it's gonna be a large
And
amount?
Ron can probably explain that more.
Are
They're
we,
going to have a new
Will
fangled
we need a
system.
pump station or anything for that, or?
No,
So they will actually have their own pumps pumping from their property to our line.
Oh, well, that's.
Basically, what
that
our
solves it.
system is, it's called the Orenco system, and it is going to be 36 individual tanks that will service 4 homes each. And then each tank will have its own pump that pumps, it'll be called a forced main, and it'll pump into the city's main. So each one will individually pump into the main.
and
No lift
very
stations
little
needed.
solids, mostly liquids.
Good deal.
I'm sorry?
Very little solids, mostly liquids, right?
Oh, that is correct. We'll have zero INI, which is infiltration, inflow and infiltration. No water, no groundwater coming to the city. And all of our effluent will be just pure liquid. We will keep the solids in the tank. They're a 2-stage tank. So everything that goes to the city will just be pure liquid. We will keep the solids in. We'll pump that every 5 to 7 years.
And that, and what we've got running out there is gonna be big enough to handle that?
Oh, it's
all that big
way,
rush?
I mean, there's ample. That was built, remember, for
Yeah, I remember.
landfill.
Right.
And for that whole Route 23 corridor to
Right.
have capacity, so.
So it's a pretty good
There's ample
size.
capacity
Okay.
there.
Especially since we're only pumping liquids and no
And you
solids.
just built a new $45 million sewer plant that hopefully can handle that.
Yes.
Well, that I knew can handle, but I was just wondering about the pipe itself.
And it also, we added something at the request of their attorney. Basically, you know, there's 3 parcels here. Parcel 1 in the agreement is the manufactured home park. Parcels 2 and 3 are the 2 storage facilities. And we did put a provision that if those 2 storage facilities ever become something else during the 20-year term of the agreement, then they would be able to connect to the sewer as well without connection charges, provided that they go to the Route 23 sewer, so they'd have a long line. But the other nearest sewers would require significant improvements to get there. Route 23 can handle it. So, and that was a good addition for them. Right now, there was a lot of concern at the zoning board about zoning those properties M1, which is the appropriate for storage, because of so many other uses. But right now, you know, we don't, I have reminded the board, we don't control that zoning currently. The county controls it. Once it's annexed, the city will control that. So they have to come to us to ask.
Okay.
I just wanted to know, make sure we had plenty of capacity.
we're good,
It's
we're
gonna
good.
cost us down the road to do something else.
They've looked at
but
this,
I'm all for that.
I don't know how many different times, Bob could probably tell you how many different times they've looked at this, but they came up with a company that's willing to take the steps, and they found a good solution.
How many home sites do you have out there?
123.
How many of them are occupied?
118. Yeah.
They've got a little room for.
Yeah, we just ordered last week. In fact, the Tuesday that I was down here last week, we ordered 4 new homes to come in, brand new homes. So we're looking probably mid-January to mid-February before we'll see them new homes. And as we go through our inventory, what we call our inventory homes, as we get them back or whatever, they will be demolished and we will bring new homes in. Like I said, we have high hopes for this community. Take it back the way it was 20 years ago.
Great.
Better than.
Would the city then be responsible for law enforcement there?
We're responsible for law enforcement, fire protection. We're already responsible for fire protection with our
Yes.
contract with Rural Fire.
Correct.
All the way.
Yeah, we probably are currently,
So we would plow 1830 north
We would
up
not
to
plow the
CNC,
internal roads
but
because those are
not
staying
inside.
private. The internal roads stay private.
Yeah, everything internally stays private.
The only road we pick up plowing is that stretch from Route 23, and I imagine Chris will probably end up with an agreement with the township or whatever to go all the way through to Route 66. You know, they work those things out where there's stubs. But, you know, we are picking up road maintenance, which means if it gets a pothole, we fix it. If it needs an overlay, it's our job, not the county's job anymore. the township.
Fairly decent road.
It's a very good road, actually. Yeah.
No, I'm on it a lot. It is a pretty good road. And the procedure is, we're just having a hearing now. It'll come back with an ordinance during the council. And if the council approves it, we'll circulate it for execution. And we have been facilitating their annexation petition, asking the county to help determine which of those 118 home residents are registered voters. It's not just a button they can push. They're gonna have to go name by name. They cooperated and gave us a list of their occupants, and the county, once they get past their election requirements, which, you know, this came up right during presidential election, they're going to go through their list and give us a checklist. And then they'll file a petition, and we have to follow through the zoning process, the actual annexation and zoning, which will bring it back here again. We have to have another public notice, public hearing process, and they can't hook up to the sewer until it's actually annexed. That's one thing that's in here. And just having this agreement, we have had ones, you know, like the city did one time for our own property, we did the annexation agreement so we could connect. But when we have private like this, we require the annexation to be finalized. And so they've got some work to do. They're gonna have to go door to door with the residents, explain how the residents are benefiting and get their cooperation.
Thanks, Al. Seeing that it is a public hearing,
Is there any public?
is there any other public that would like to speak on the subject? Hearing none.
Close the hearing.
Think- Any final questions? Okay. Well, like I said, it'll be coming back to us for our approval and a step process. Okay. We appreciate it, Ron.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Close the hearing and open the council.
The hearing is closed, and now we're going to call to order the council meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Barr,
Here.
Giovanini,
Here.
Eckhoff, Callis, Lee,
Here.
Cowser,
Here.
Bradshaw, Cranford,
Here.
Howard, Willie.
Here.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda, we have 3 items to be looked at.
A motion for approval of the consent agenda.
Motion by Jamie,
I'll second.
seconded by Ty, Barb, and John. Yeah. Roll call, please.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser.
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
Cranford.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Willie.
Yes.
Thank you. Speaking about the Redwood annexation agreement, first item on our regular agenda is conferencing on that again.
Yes, so I kind of went through the annexation agreement
Yeah.
in the public hearing, and you should have a copy of it in front of you if there are any questions on that.
As we see, this is going to be 2 or 3 more steps, so read this through. If you have a question or two, shuffle them into Jim or up to City Hall, and we will cover them at the next meeting.
And we had 2 public hearings on this. The law requires 1, but because this annexation agreement had annexation elements to it and things the city council is going to approve, like the connection to the sewer, and it had zoning and special use considerations, we had it on the agenda and had a zoning hearing as well to approve that zoning in advance. So once we get this agreement, when they file the petition for annexation, we can approve that annexation with only annexation hearings. We won't have to have another zoning hearing on to approve the zoning. They've already recommended it.
Okay.
So we got that step out of the way. And we just need motion to approve that. We'll get everybody signed up and move forward.
We're doing a motion.
Motion to approve
this.
ordinance
Yeah.
2024-031.
Make the motion.
That's what we need then. Motion by Scott, seconded by Jerry. Roll call, please.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser.
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
Cranford.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Willie.
Yes.
Barr.
Yes.
Thank you. Now I believe that we have some awards from the Main Street program. See Liz and Misty are both ready. Take it
Hi.
away.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. So I just wanted to take a minute to recognize the work of our program. I actually wrote this down, and I know you guys know me. I don't normally do that, but I want to make sure I get all the verbiage right, so bear with me. Tonight, I'm very honored to announce the well-deserved recognition that our Community Enrichment Department has received. Our Downtown Pontiac IL program, under the direction of Main Street Manager Misty Bell, was awarded 6. Let me say that again, 6 Lieutenant Governor Awards for excellence in revitalization at last week's Illinois Main Street Conference in Batavia. Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton was in attendance to honor the work of the recipients. The Lieutenant Governor Award for Excellence in Revitalization is one of the most notable recognitions for Illinois Main Street communities to achieve for their work in bringing economic prosperity to their communities. Work highlights projects, activities, and events focused around the 4-point Main Street approach, which includes design, organization, economic vitality, and promotion. Our first award, we received the Design Award for our Main Street our wayfinding signage on the sidewalks throughout the downtown last fall. Some of you might remember that. We did that as a project with our Marketing and Communications Manager, Hannah Lee, who is in the closet. She's gonna pop out right now. Hi, Hannah. Oh, she popped out. Good. Okay. Hi, Hannah. Hannah, go ahead and stand up. These were the decals that were on the ground, and they were a very low cost but high impact signage that helped attendees for last year's Illinois Main Street Conference, along with all of our visitors, navigate their way through our district. They were well designed and well branded, and they offered a unique solution to wayfinding. Way to go, Hannah. Next was our promotion award for the weekly newsletter. Misty's newsletter is sent every Friday to subscribers and is posted on social media on Mondays. It has grown by leaps and bounds since she sent her first one on September 1st of 23. I looked back just to make sure. And hundreds, literally, she'll tell you the numbers, hundreds of people see what's happening in our downtown each week and beyond. Misty, you can go ahead and stand up too. And then finally, an organization award for the first annual Winterfest Trees. Thank you, Chris Brock, in 2023. As you know, last year we had 50 trees throughout our downtown area. It was so successful. This year we've done 80. So it's a huge, beautiful thing that she brought to our downtown area, a great idea, and she won another award for it. So go ahead and get recognized again, Misty. The final 3 awards, I'm going to go ahead and have Misty come on. Yep, you can come on up. I'm going to have her speak on these.
Just to let you know that we submitted for 6 awards total, and yeah, we got all 6, so that was impressive. Our program, as you know, it depends on the buy-in on our community members. It's volunteer ran. When you see events happening throughout downtown that come from this program, it is not with a huge paid staff. It is with just the volunteers that care about Pontiac and want to see it thrive. So they're not here today, but for a volunteer award, Roger and Kathy Suter were awarded that award. Not only were they able to be there for the presentation, but we were 14 strong. We took 2 full tables at our award ceremony because we had such a great amount of people that came to support them. They were very surprised. Mr. Bob Carls, Mr. Pontiac, has been just stellar, and I don't know how anyone could come into this community, into this job without his support, and he was awarded Board Member of the Year. And Ms. Brenda Thompson, who between here and Oklahoma, as she was trying to relocate and leave us, she was awarded the Volunteer of the Year award. So a round of applause for them, please. And just to reiterate that we are such a volunteer program. I have Anna here, who is a chairman of our organization panel. She sits on advisory with Mr. Carls, and she's that next generation of volunteering. That she's a business owner, she's a mom, she's got kids in school, her employees are kids, and she has been stellar, dedicating so much of her spare time, to make sure that so many great things are coming to our community. So I love that all our programs got awards, but I think the volunteer awards, that's much more. So thank you.
Oh, you're going to put Anna back in the cage? Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. I think we should open the floor to Mr. Carls if he'd like to say a word or two. He's been very bashful most of his life. So, anything you'd like to say, Bob?
Well,
Yeah.
why not? The Main Street program started in Pontiac in 1987. And, for a few of you were back then, and it was in pretty rough shape downtown. And the 4-point approach and its implementation really transformed this community and really made it what it was today. And of course, we were flying high in 2019 when COVID hit, and we took a nasty hit again in the downtown area. But what's really exciting is to see a whole new generation stepping forward, putting those same 4 points approach into practice, and the energy that Misty brings. It's really good stuff that's happening.
Thanks again, Bob. Okay.
And also, it's good to see that she has Chris doing all the work, too.
Well, somebody had to. All righty, moving on. The RP lumber sign variance.
Yeah, I was approaching the dais, but RP's representative is here. The general manager of Pontiac RP is.
Yeah, introduce yourself, please.
My name is Sam York. I'm the general manager of the RP in Pontiac.
Uh-huh. How's it going?
Good.
And you're looking to get a sign variance?
Yes.
Okay. And
So for a quick synopsis, RP is looking to add a highway sign similar to what Wendy's has, what the B3 residents have, but as RP is an M1, they need a special use or a variance to allow for that highway sign. So they're looking for a sign of 60-foot overall height, and we'd also vary to allow for their sign to be off premises, as it is at the property that is attached to RP, but is not owned by RP. It's at the formerly owned by RP, but it's now a storage facility owned by someone else. So we're looking to vary to allow for an off-premises sign and vary to allow for a sign overall height of 60 foot.
And area of 189 foot.
Yes, area of 189.
And where will the sign be facing?
It'll be facing the interstate on the east side of the property.
That's the reason for the sign for interstate traffic?
Mm-hmm.
So my only concern is the height of 60 feet. How does that relate to like the Wally sign? And is that high as well?
The Wally sign's 125 foot.
So 125?
Yes, sir.
Because our limit is 12, so I mean, it's a big difference.
Yes, sir. So again, for like the Wendy sign, I believe the highway sign, I have to look at the height limit on that, but it's significantly higher. So it's not unusual to have a highway sign, but M1 zoning doesn't allow for it. So their variance is to treat that property like a B3 for a highway sign. If that makes sense.
What is M1 zone?
It's limited manufacturing, where B3 is general commercial and wholesale, which is where the Walmarts, the Aldis, the fast foods are.
Yeah.
M1, because lumber yards, I think they fit in an M1, they kind of fit into a B3 if you think about their business like a Menards or a Home Depot, but they also have warehousing parts of it. They have storage areas. If you've ever been to a lumber yard to get lumber, you go in and pay for it, and you go out to the yard and get it. So storage, like if someone had, like a lot of our storage, we just approved M1 for the mini storage. But if you were going to have just warehousing in Pontiac, some company wanted to put a warehouse up, that would be an M1. Most industrial type of businesses are M1. We have an M2 zoning, but we don't have hardly any of it, and that's really aggressive stuff. Like if you were going to have a rendering plant or something that might have the quote offensive use. So we've got a lot of M1 type of things, and it's usually manufacturing or storage. And they don't usually, I'm sitting here and I don't think of a lumber yard trying to pull people off the interstate. But you think about a Menards or a Home Depot, they would be, so.
But if it was a B3 instead of an M1?
They would be able to, is the area the same, or would you have to vary the area?
They would not have to vary the area.
Okay, so if it were a B3 instead of an M1, according to Greg, they would have been able to have a permitted sign. They wouldn't have to have a variance.
What's the maximum height on a B3? check out there.
I've got the sign code. Give me one moment. I will get that.
I will
for you.
tell you, when Wally's came in, they had a package of variances, and I'm pretty sure their sign had to be varied to get as tall as it is.
It's 123.
It's 125.
So we've had conversations about variances many times before, and
This is
This
one,
is-
like, if you take the Bryan approach to it, this is the first time I ever remember having an issue because something's zoned M1 instead of B3. It just happens to be the way the moon and stars lined up out there. It's not something that's recurring, coming back to the council, hey, we're getting another variance for garage setback.
This is the reason for variances.
This is unusual
This is the
circumstance,
kind of thing.
but they got the M1 zoning when they came to town because they needed it under our zoning ordinance to operate lumberyard.
Does the other lumberyard, I can't remember. the name.
LSI or Hofrichter.
Right. Are they a B3 or an M1?
They were next to the railroad, I'm gonna.
They're an M1.
Yes, they're M1.
They're also,
Yes.
And
do
so
they
is,
have to be an M1? Or could they be a B3?
I'd have to look at we've revised our zoning ordinance at least once since RP came to town, and probably 2 or 3 times since Hofrichter's was in business. So I don't know whether it changed to a B3 with a special use. We have to look at the table, and I don't know if Greg has the ordinance table with him.
Not handy, no.
We can look at that, Jamie, and find
How
out.
hard is it to change from an M1 to a B3?
Yeah, if it was going to be permitted a lumberyard in a B3, you would have to go through the process of amending the ordinance to permit it in a B3. If the ordinance says it can only be in an M1, you control it, you control the zoning, you can say, hey, B3 is fine for a lumberyard, if you think that's the case.
Yeah, but nobody's petitioning to change the zoning.
Right, but
No,
I mean,
but she's asking how,
Sure,
It could
you know,
happen.
the idea is we wouldn't need the variance if they'd have been zone B3,
sure,
so.
sure.
Well,
And
I
to-
get it. I do think that because lumberyards vary so much in size and marketing and what they've got,
Different things
they
they
probably
do.
do fit in M1 better.
Yeah, like Menards is all under one roof.
Yeah, box store, you know,
So
Home
that's-
Depot even more. You know, Home Depot
Yeah.
really doesn't have a yard. You know, Menards still has a yard.
yeah, Menards has a little yard.
But Lowe's and Home Depot, for instance, if we had a small package of that would be in a Walmart building. It wouldn't have to have, it wouldn't have the outdoor storage. It would still have semis coming, and it'd still have all kinds of things happening, but it would be all contained.
But right now, we're just looking for a variance to allow the outdoor sign.
And
At
if
a height
you
of
want to
60 feet.
consider looking at the zoning situation, we can certainly.
It's,
Just don't
it's
have-
half the height of the Wally sign,
Yeah.
so it's really not that
Less.
big. Yeah.
I mean, when I look up at I actually emailed Greg last week after the hearing to say, how high is Wally's? Because I didn't remember what we varied it to. And I was thinking it was more in this range, and wondered why a lumberyard might need something that tall. And then he said, well, it's over 125 feet. It's like, wow, you know, it doesn't look that tall.
So
But it is. So when you compare the two sides, I don't know if the face is as big though. I don't know how many square feet is on that Wally's face. I mean, it's a pretty good billboard type of sign.
So you said that recently the zoning's been looked at a few times.
Well, we did a brand-new zoning ordinance with Tesca. How many years ago was that, Bob? It's not real recent.
1997.
And then when we recodified our ordinances, we looked at all of our sections again and made some tweaks, but this isn't something that caught anybody's eye.
But I think it's our duty to create code that's well-written so that businesses don't have to come to us and have the burden of requesting variances. I think that when we allow for variances, it creates dependence on variance rather than providing opportunities for businesses to get their needs met other ways. I also think that variances create contempt for the city's code, and it goes against active city planning.
Well, variances come and go to special needs. That's why we have the meetings for them.
And normally, they should be allowed, I mean, if it's something particular or peculiar to that property.
Yeah.
The Wendy's variance that we did a couple weeks ago, maybe you could say it was peculiar to that property, but we also had it for Wally's.
We've had lots
And-
of sign variances over the years.
The difference,
And everybody
still
wants
be
to be high,
variances.
everybody wants to be higher and more visible, let's face it.
Yep.
And sometimes the further you're off the highway, the higher it needs to be. They wouldn't probably need 60 foot to be visible with a 189 square foot sign.
No, like Hoffman's doesn't
Yeah.
use sign, no one's even
So,
gonna see it up.
you know,
But if it allows a
probably-
100-foot sign, then they might come in for a variance to make it 140 foot.
Yeah. So,
In a way, you kind of
some
hold them down
municipalities,
with the
Jamie,
current.
see it differently. They would rather, that's why we have a lot of special uses in our ordinance, to say, hey, you know, this fits in a certain district, but only after the board and the council have had a chance to look at the specifics and see if it really fits. That's what a special use would do. And some municipalities would rather have very restrictive zoning and requirements and then vary them on a case to case. And you know, the more modern view is to make it work without variances. I agree with that.
Right, because the other can give the appearance of
It's a
nepotism, it
process.
doesn't
People
allow
don't
for
always get treated the
transparency.
same.
So
Yeah.
do you have the numbers on, so if you're putting up that sign, have you got the numbers on how many people you're expecting that to draw in?
I don't.
Okay. Somebody's done that
Yeah,
probably.
somebody's probably, yeah.
And if I'm gonna guess, Scott, I'm gonna guess that maybe the powers that be aren't really expecting people to be driving down the highway and say, oh, there's an RP lumber, let's pull in. They may be somebody coming that wants to find the lumber yard and want to be able to locate it easily. It's
Yeah.
more of a wayfinding thing.
Yeah.
And that's important too. I mean, they draw, I know, one time I was doing a roof, and I think it was El Paso maybe, I had to get, they couldn't, Huff Victor's locally couldn't, shingles were really tight, whenever that was. And I had to shop for getting shingles, and we ended up with an RP, so we ended up going over there, and they delivered, but I mean, we went over, looked at shingles, and saw what we wanted, because we were looking for it.
Coming from the
And
north.
They're very
It's
competitive in that
overpass,
one.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we have people come in all the time, didn't even know there was a lumber yard out there,
Yeah.
all the time. The only reason why they noticed it was because they were at the hospital. So, I mean, a sign would bring in a tremendous,
Probably not your main business, which are the contractors, they're gonna know about you, but for home people,
right.
for home improvement people, you know, having a more readily observable presence is probably positive. They advertise well, I mean, I can get the fly, they've got good tail ads and stuff, and, they're good to deal with, you know, I know that, but I
Jamie,
don't
I
know if
would,
we'd be having this conversation if a Menards or Home Depot wanted to build out there, you know?
yeah, but I would agree with that. That if we change the code, then we're still gonna have to variant for another Wally's coming to town because they wanna build somewhere where the code doesn't suit them. So you go one way or the other, but at least with the code in place the way it is, we have the say, we have the control over that.
Well, the most,
We can say no to that, to a variance that we don't think is right.
Probably
This one we think is right.
The code should be transparent, so anybody coming here looking to buy a business, they don't
and they
have to say,
do,
well, I
ours is
gotta buy it
on,
and then ask for
ours is
variance.
on the web. Anybody that searches for Pontiac Municipal Code can find it. And people that are looking for a site do that. I mean, we have people call us all the time wanting clarification of this section or clarification of that section. I get those calls from other attorneys, so I know they're looking at it online. And don't know if anybody would go down the road somewhere else without calling to check and see what the options are. They might. I mean,
But can you request a variance if you don't own the property?
yes, you can if you have if you have the resident or the owner of the property agrees with it and joins in. So the owner and the applicant would have, we do that all the time with people that are contract purchasers. They're buying the property, but they are applying for the zoning before they buy it to make sure they get their zoning.
True.
And the owner has to join with the applicant as well. And typically, we don't make those effective until they complete the sale.
Irregardless of all this, the ordinances are there to give us a base to work off of. The variances give us the opportunity to vary, so that's what we're looking at.
And the one thing on this particular use, we don't have people knocking down the door to put lumber yards in, more fast foods and things like that are much more common for us to deal with.
But to RP's question,
Lumberyard would be very welcome
Yeah.
because they generate a lot of sales tax dollars.
yeah, that's true. The motion or the question before us is to approve the variance for the 60-foot sign.
I'd make a motion. Approve it.
Motion by Jerry,
A second.
seconded by Frank Giovanni. Roll call, please.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser,
Yes.
Bradshaw? No. Cranford,
Yes.
Howard? No. Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanni?
Yes.
Thank you. Good luck. Thank you, sir. Moving on, airport insurance renewal.
Yes, so
Jim's been working hard on this.
So we got our quote back from Old Republic for our airport liability insurance. And if you recall, that is something that's not covered under our regular liability. Weller has been our agent for some time. This was the first time in a couple years there's been an increase, and that quote came in at $7,960 for the airport.
How does that compare to our past ones?
It's higher, and I'm trying to remember. I think our last one was right just under 6,000. So,
I got two.
and you'll see when we talk the liability insurance renewal that increases were not uncommon this year. So, but we had several years of a flat line with no increase at all. So we did kind of expect there to be an increase.
Yeah, times are moving on, as they say. Yeah. Any questions for Bob?
Budgeted right.
Motion to approve?
What was budgeted for that? Were we over budget on that?
No.
Or did I
No,
miss it?
we're fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is for next year,
Right.
Right.
for the next coming year.
Okay.
I have a question. Is this
Yes.
the same company we've had for a number of years?
It is.
Have we got comparables?
We don't. We have no comparables.
Okay.
Yeah. There aren't many companies that provide insurance for airports. So, but that's one thing that I can put on the list to
Okay.
look at.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, we'll need a motion.
So move.
Motion by Mike, seconded by Scott.
Outside.
Roll call, please.
Cowser,
Yes.
Bradshaw? Yes. Cranford,
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Willie?
Yes.
Barr?
Yes.
Giovanni?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Thank you. We got the airport insurance, and now we have liability insurance.
Yeah, so if you recall, when we joined CIRMA, we joined for 3 years. And so in this one, we were advised of what the new rate is, and you should have in front of you a pricing sheet. That will show the expiring was $485,909. There was an 11.4% increase this year, up to with the fees, $541,394. And also, if you recall, we saved a little over 100,000, well, quite a bit over 100,000, switching to CIRMA from the open market. And we went from, in 2023, we were paying $685,495 down to the $485,909 in 23, or 24, and now to the $541,394 for the next coming year. We still have, after this one, we'll have one more year on our CIRMA agreement.
This money comes out of our,
This comes out of the liability, and this is from the tax levy.
Do we need a motion on this?
Yeah.
Big motion.
Motion by Jerry. Seconded by John Willie. Roll call, please.
Bradshaw? Yes. Cranford?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Willie?
Yes.
Barr?
Yes.
Giovanini?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Cowser?
Yes.
Thank you. It's good to be insured. Moving on to second quarter financials.
Yeah, not a whole lot to report on this one, other than it's not really an accurate representation. If you go through the departments, it's missing August and September's payrolls. And so what I really would prefer to do is to get that cleaned up and then sent back out to you for your revision. Because if you look at the payrolls, we're around 30% for the year, when the reality is we're 50%. So otherwise, going through it, there really hasn't been any surprises to anything. If anyone had any questions, and one day we will figure out how to make these open without being upside down on the second page.
We do deal in miracles occasionally, so yeah, okay. That's just a prelude to things to come. We do have need of executive session, so we're gonna move on here a little bit. Mayor's comments. I'm sure everybody got the notice of committee of the whole next week on Tuesday, 5:30. It will be a combination finance, infrastructure, and parks, so it could be a couple hours long, so keep that in mind. We will have some refreshments, so when we need to take a break, we can. The other thing, I've understood that we had a really good response from the mailing on the housing survey, and in a couple of weeks, we will probably wrap up on that and start getting the feedback that we're looking for. Let's see, committee of the whole, zoning meetings, I think we're covered there for me. City council comments. Barb.
I would like to thank everybody that was at the Veterans Day ceremony last Monday, and I would like to thank Jim Wolford for an excellent address to the crowd. There was not a very big crowd, but there was, the VFW was there, the PTHS band was, and I'd say probably maybe 3 or 4 dozen citizens, so, but it was very nice, and thank you, Jim.
Good. Yeah, Jim. Speaking of Jim, city administrator comments.
Yep. Chris, I think the ice rink is completed, correct?
Pretty close, got a couple things to tweak on it with the light tank.
Yep. So we're moving along well there. We're getting closer to the launch of our Visit Pontiac website. Still got a number of projects working through. The streetscape and the Centennial Plaza are still in motion. I did get the last update I got from USDA on the substation is that our environmentals have been submitted, and the USDA expected that would take a couple of weeks for that to turn around to push us on to the next part, so.
Okay. I pretty well got it.
That's it, yes, sir.
I guess, public comments? Yep, you're the public. You're done? Okay. Good smile. One last thing before we adjourn to executive session. I think everybody got the flyer on the caroling. I think this could be a fun night, so let's keep it in mind and participate when we can. Okay. No more public comments. We need to have a motion to adjourn to executive session.
Now motion.
Motion by Scott, seconded by Frank. Roll call, please.
Barr?
Yes.
Giovanini?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Cowser?
Yes.
Bradshaw? Yes. Cranford?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Willie?
Yes.
Thank you. Give us about 3 minutes and we will
There. It's gonna